about fundamental theorem and SVD. So SVD, I won't go detail in SVD in today's class. I will take benefit of SVD in order to define orthonormal basis of our fundamental subspecies. So why orthonormal basis? You might be aware of that a rectangular basis or simply usual basis, or what we call simplest in high school. You had already seen that very simplest coordinate system, it happens to be in 2D it happens to be xy axis, x axis and y axis. And if someone is asking what is the coordinate of x axis, then in linear algebra we are saying that x axis we denote it by 1 0, and this one is x axis. In linear algebra this x axis we will call it, it is just a scalar multiple of 1 0. From the basis perspective, basis perspective is giving a compact representation of plane, and this one is y axis, that we are calling it linear multiple or a scalar multiple of 0 1. So we are having in R2 we are having two basis, and in order to find all linear combination, that means alpha times 1 0 and plus beta time 0 1, it is spanning the complete R2 space. So that's way, so if you take any of the point in this R2, that can be expressed as a linear combination of these two spatial vector, that means 1 0 and 0 1. Any, if you take any point from R2, that can be represented as a specific linear combination of 1 0 and 0 2. So that's why we are saying that the linear span of these two vectors happens to be equal to R2. And what more, one more, this one is one property, that a spanning property it is having. Most of linearly independent vector, if you are taking any two linearly independent vector in this R2, that will span out complete R2, there is no issue. But what is more than that, it these two is having, these two are having, that means this pair is having. So what property these two are having? A specific property. One is this one. What is another one? Anyone, can you point out? So name of this one, you can call it, it is E1. Notation, general notation, generally I would like to take it E1. This 0 1 I will call it E2. Actually a standard thing you will observe that E1 and E2 are orthonormal vector. That means if you try to find magnitude or norm of E1, it would be 1, norm of E2 is also 1, that means norm means length, generalized length, simply we can say that. And if you try to find dot product between these two, that one is 0, then it simply says that E1 and E2 both are orthogonal to each other, that means orthonormal to each other. So that orthonormality property is giving very interesting application when you are trying to find dot product between any two vector. Then due to orthonormality property, what you will observe that if you try to find dot product between E1 and E2, so simply it becomes what? Equal to 0. And if you are taking any two vector, so if you are taking any two vector from this plane, so what will happen? So dot product will involve the coordinate only, rest of thing vanish, it will vanish. So that's why this representation, that orthonormal basis is playing very important role. And we had already seen in the matrix, it happens to be a if you are taking m by n matrix, then it happens to be a linear transformation or linear operator, you can say that both are the same. So it is a transformation from where to where, it is a transformation from Rn to Rm. That means it transform each in n dimensional vector into m dimensional vector. This matrix is transforming. So it is one kind of operator also, you can say that matrix is acting like an operator. Now once we know that matrix is behaving like operator, and we had already discussed about this matrix induce 4 fundamental subspecies, and 2 happens to be in this dominant space or source space, and 2 are in the codominant space. So 2 which are in the dominant space, that we are calling it, first happens to be row space, that we are calling it the column space of A transpose, or simply you can say that row space, because if you transpose a matrix then column becomes row. So that is the scenario. And another subspace happens to be null space of A. Uh, both are actually in the domain space. In the big picture you might have already seen that. And two fundamental subspaces are in codomain space or in target space. Those are but column space, that means linear combination, all possible linear combination of the column of the given matrix, and the left null space, that means null space of A transpose. So these two are in the target space. So we had already seen that construction process and everything regarding these four fundamental subspaces. Now remaining thing is that I told that if you are having a subspace, then definitely you need to talk about basis. So what would be basis? Basis usually you can find, and if you are finding a basis, and then you will see that generally basis not happens to be orthogonal to each other. Like in this R2, 1 0 and 0 1, both are orthogonal to each other. 1 0 and 0 1 are orthonormal in nature. So that's why when you do dot product of any vector from R2 which are expressed as a linear combination of 1 0 and 0 1, then the dot product, it looks very easy. You do dot product in a very simple fashion, you won't face any problem. That one is very ideal situation in R2, what dot product you have already seen till now. So due to that, why that looks simple, like if someone is saying that dot product of x1 and x2 with y1 and y2, what it would be? It would be just x1 times y1 and x2 times y2. So that is the scenario, that thing from your even school time, but you don't know why it is happening. It is happening because here we have taken a standard basis of R2, that one is 1 0 and 0 2. Now we are going to generalize, because if you go in data science or in machine learning problem, generally you will deal with data space. There would be no any specific form. You have form no you won't observe a standard form. So your dot product I'm writing in little bit, and here dot product simply you are finding it x1 times y1 plus x2 times y2. So this is the dot product. Till now you had already observed why it is happening, because of these two basis element 1 0 and 0 1, these two are standard bases. So in general, actually in R2 we are calling it, if you are taking a basis having basis element 1 0 and 0 1, then that basis we are calling it a standard basis. So here dot product, if you are defining dot product like this way, simply you say that you are relying on a standard basis. It is not like that. Any two nonlinear factor may be, or any two linearly independent vector may play the role of basis. But here in this dot product you are very much specific, that you have taken 1 0 and 0 1 as uh, basis. That means you are dealing with a standard basis. But if you go for non-standard basis, then this kind of dot product you can't define. You will see some kind of complex definition of dot product. So also that those things I had already explained in my linear algebra class. If you want to visit in detail, you can see that. So here my main intention is that I would like to introduce some orthonormality among the basis of these fundamental subspaces. So you are taking this row space, you are taking this null space, you are taking this null space, column space in this left null space, then definitely these are subspaces and these would also have basis. Now if these are having basis, then we can't get much of that basis. We can't apply our concept in that basis, that dot product kind of things and other criteria in a very fascinating way. We will face problem when we will do dot product and cross product kind of things. So we will definitely face problem. So to avoid that problem, what we do, we try to apply some kind of theorem in some kind of computational result in order to convert that basis into a orthonormal basis. So one approach is a Gram-Schmidt orthogonalizer process. So it is not always look good. Gram-Smith is one process. What you do, it is little bit tedious, highly geometric in nature. It is highly geometric in nature, based on projection, orthogonal projection. It is this one is based on orthogonal projection, and it looks very interesting if you go for. But if you go in higher dimensional, then complexity will increase. So due to that, we uh, rarely fare Gram-Smith orthogonalization process in order to get orthonormal basis for a given subspace. It is not feasible to do in higher dimensional spaces. So that's why we have to look for alternative technique that will provide directly, that alternative technique will provide directly orthonormal basis for these fundamental subspaces. And who is providing that? Then singular value decomposition is providing that. So alternative one approach is Gram-Smith orthogonalization, and it is very complicated in case of dimension is very high. But another technique is SVD, singular value decomposition. It looks very interesting and easy to find. So singular value decomposition here, it is taking an idea. It is just generalization of a spectral theorem that is, it says that if you are taking any symmetric matrix, then that symmetric matrix can be decomposed in orthogonal fashion there. So or you can modify that decomposition into orthogonal fashion. So, and there are many interesting more than that in a spectral theorem it is talking about positive semi-definite matrix. If you are taking positive semi-definite matrix, then the decomposition always happens to be orthogonal in nature. So that kind of results that we are calling it a spectral result. So same kind of facility we can get through SVD. Here what in place of the matrix, given matrix A, we want, because here this matrix is what, m by n matrix. So simply if someone is asking find the eigenvalue of this matrix, can you find the eigenvalue of this matrix? Anyone, would you like to answer? Can you find this? If suppose this one is 2 by 3 matrix, can you find the eigenvalue of this 2 by 3 matrix? Can you find or not? Anyone may comment. Can you find eigenvalue of this matrix? Are you able to listen me or not? Okay, so my question is there here that I'm asking to find in eigenvalue of 1 2 by 3 matrix. That means there are 2 row and 3 columns, 2 by 3. So 1 2 3 3 4. If I'm giving this kind of matrix like 5 8, anything, any entry you can take it. So suppose this one is a 2 by 3 matrix, and I'm asking you to find eigenvalue of this matrix. Can you find eigenvalue of this matrix? Yeah, right answer. It is not possible to find because it is rectangular in size. It is not a square matrix. So definitely our theory of finding eigenvalue, eigenvector, it is based on solving the determinant, and determinant, which kind of matrix is having feasible determinant? Only a square matrix. If you are having a square matrix, then you can calculate determinant. If your matrix is not a square, then you can't find determinant of that. Okay, so definitely you will face problem. So that's why this one is a rectangular matrix. So here we can't find eigenvalue, eigenvector of this matrix directly. There is no direct technique. So what we do, so SVD is providing interesting technique in order to calculate. We are not in that case. Those would be not eigenvalue, eigenvector of A. Those would be singular value, singular vector of A. So what we do, we don't deal with A directly. What we will do, in place of A, we will deal with A transpose A, or A into A transpose. So if you take any kind of matrix A, either you take A into A transpose or A transpose A, both will share same eigen values. Eigenvector might be different, but eigenvalue both will share same eigenvalue. There is a theory for that. So what you do, if you try to see A transpose A, now tell me what is the size of this one? Size of this one would be 3 by 3. It would be 3 by 3. So it is a square matrix. Now, do you face any problem in order to calculate eigenvalue and eigenvector of this A transpose A? Would you like, whether are you going to face any problem in order to calculate eigenvalue, eigenvector of this matrix A transpose A? Would you face, whether are you going to face or not? Anyone respond? Whether you will face any issue regarding calculation of eigenvalue eigenvector of A transpose A or not? Anyone? Yes or no? Just binary answer. Yes, actually you are not audible actually. I think just try to answer. Yes or no? Just you can say yes or no, whichever you find reliable. Any answer? Actually, this one is a square matrix, so always possible to find eigenvalue eigenvector of this one, A transpose A. There is no issue because determinant eigen process of finding eigenvalue eigenvector involves determinant. So you are able to calculate determinant of this matrix, so there would be no issue. So you can calculate eigenvalue eigenvector of this one, and SPW and the what eigenvector you will get for A transpose A, that would play as one of the singular value of the given matrix A, singular value, and with respect to that we can decompose A in the form of orthogonal we will get orthogonal character, and what will happen, interestingly you will see that eigenvector of this A transpose A happens to be orthogonal in nature. So that's way those will provide orthogonal basis of all these subspecies, so we can get orthogonal basis. So with the help of idea of SVD, we can get orthogonal basis. If you don't worry about, always we can get orthogonal basis. So I am coming directly to several part of fundamental theorem of linear algebra. So first coming to outline, I will talk about fundamental theorem. Then time permit, then I will go to one rank matrix and SVD. And SVD derivation, I want to go derivation. Just I will talk about how I will explain things how SVD is happening. So coming to part one of fundamental theorem of linear algebra, it is talking about dimension of the subspaces using rank. So that means if you go fundamental subspaces space wise, source of space and source of space and target of space. Then in source of space you are having two fundamental subspaces. One is column row space of A, another one is null space of A. If you sum the dimension, then dimension will add up to the total dimension of the source of space. That is the theory here. And in short, also in linear algebra, name of that theorem is Sylvester theorem. In linear algebra, you can see Sylvester theorem. So it simply says that the column space and row space have equal dimension. That we are calling it rank of the matrix. So both are sharing the same dimension. So there is a proof already. I don't want to go to that proof. But now coming to null space of a, I told that if you observe a matrix and if you do Gaussian elimination method, then you will see that the first R row, first R columns would be pivot column, and last, because here how many columns you will observe, suppose this one is m by n matrix, there would be n number of columns. So here first R, as rank of this is defined in term of number of pivot column, so first R columns would be pivot column and remaining n minus R columns would be non-pivot column. So those variable which are associated with non-pivot column, those are actually constructing, playing very important role in order to construct solution of space of homogeneous system Ax equal to 0 or null space. Solution of space of homogeneous system, we are calling it null space. So they are constructing null space. So that's way the dimension of null space is n minus r. Similarly, if you go for this A transpose, so A transpose matrix would be what? N by M. So here in A transpose, how many columns you will observe? This is M number of column you will observe. So I am talking about here A transpose. Okay, so here m number of column will come in A transpose. So first R columns would play the role in row space, that means column space of A transpose, that's first R, and remaining m minus R columns would be non-pivot column, and the associated variable would be free variable, and they will construct null space of A transpose, or simply we are saying null space of uh, left null space. So that's way dimension of left null space would be M minus R. So all these things. So it is talking about all these. If you sum, so just I have taken same example. If you sum simply R plus N minus R, it will add up to N, and N is the dimension of row domain space. And similarly R plus M minus R equal to M, that one is the dimension of target space. So it is giving a very feasible relation. That means it is simply talking about dimension. So that means simply it's, you can say that dimension of this law is talking about like this way: dimension of row space, that means column space of, I'm talking from source space perspective, column space of A transpose. Okay, plus dimension of null space. Both are, this summation we are doing in source space of null space of A. If you sum it up, that means you are doing summation like R plus N minus R, and that sum would add up to N. Similarly, you will get dimension of column space of A and dimension of null space of A transpose, that will add up to N. So these two law we are calling it part 1 of fundamental theorem of linear algebra. This one is the part 1 of that. So example here I have taken again the same matrix which is already in reduced form. So you can look into here. So first two columns happens to be pivot column, and last two are non-pivot column. So we'll observe that these will span what, column space of first two column will span column space of A, and 0 0 1 it will span null space of A transpose, and both are in the target space. Then you can observe that dimension of this one is what, 2, and dimension of this one is 1. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3, that is actually dimension of target space. Similarly, you can see that if you take transpose, then first two column of transpose matrix, those are 1 0 2 3 0 1 4 5. These will span row space of A, or simply we can say that column space of A transpose, and dimension would be 2. And similarly we can observe that the null space of here you can observe that null space here two non-pivot columns are there. So related variable are x3 x4 happens to be free variable. Due to that we are getting two bases for null space of A, that means dimension is 2, and the matrix is, this matrix is 3 by 4 matrix. So you can say that this matrix is an operator which is operating from R4 to R3. So that's way here this matrix you can say that it is a 3 by 4 matrix. So it is operating from R4 4-dimensional space to R3 3-dimensional space. So that's way your domain space here in R4, and codomain space or target space happens to be R3. So you can look into here this one these two, column space and null space of A transpose, these are what sorry here R3 3 we have to write. Column space and null space of A transpose happens to be in within R3. That's way sum of dimension of this one and this one equal to dimension of R3. See, and here column space of A transpose and null space of A happens to be within R4. That's where sum of the dimension of these two spaces are what, 2 plus 2 equal to 4. That one is equal to dimension of our source space or domain space. So this is the part 1 of fundamental theorem of linear algebra. Now we will go to part 2. Part 2 is talking about orthogonality nature. So orthogonality, that means perpendicular nature, it say that. So two subspaces which are in the source space, that means in Rn. So if you are taking m by n matrix, then source space would be Rn and target space would be Rm. Okay, so A is m by n matrix. General theory, I'm talking about general theory, that's why m by n I'm taking. Otherwise, for example, you can take any particular rectangular matrix. Okay, so two spaces which are in Rn, those are actually perpendicular to each other or orthogonal to each other. That means if you take any arbitrary element from uh, row space of A and other arbitrary element from null space of A, and if you do dot product of these two, those would be, that dot product would be always zero. That means every member of column space of A transpose and every member of column space null space of A happens to be perpendicular to each other or orthogonal to each other, and these two are complement of each other. That in that process here it is forming orthogonal complement as well. So all these are talking about part 2. So the counting of basis is obvious from the row reduced echelon form, that you can count basis vector easily in row reduced form. The matrix has R non-zero rows and R pivot columns. R non-zero rows and R pivot columns. So both yeah, because column space and row space both share the same dimension. Further, the reversibility of every elimination step to confirm that linear independence and dimension are not going to change. Those are linear independence and dimension. That linear dependency of column and dimension and rank all are invariant with respect to Gaussian elimination process. So that's why I have written it here. So here you can observe that this one is row space. That means column space of A transpose happens to be row space, and the matrix we have defined here from where to where. Matrix is m by n matrix, so that's why it is a transformation from Rn to Rm. So here this left hand side we observe domain, partition of domain into two part. One subspace we are calling it row space, another subspace we are calling it null space. Okay, so this matrix is through four fundamental subspaces. It is doing a partition of the matrix, and a partition in such a way it is very specific partition, and we observe that every member of this column a space of A transpose happens to be perpendicular to this one. If you take any, then definitely it will be perpendicular. So this space is perpendicular to this space. And similarly, this space is perpendicular to this space. That means column space is perpendicular to null space of A transpose. So you observe orthogonality. So perpendicular nature, you can observe that this relation it is deriving by this way. This relation it is deriving by this way. So there is always a perpendicular nature. Okay, so orthogonality, if you want to derive further, I will talk about derivation. So that one was the pictorial version. So part 2 says that rows space and null space are orthogonal complements. There are two words here. One word is orthogonal, another word is complement. Complement is very interesting in the sense that some subspaces might be orthogonal to each other, but may not complement each other. May not be complement to each other. May not be, but what is meaning of complement I will talk about that. That means if you sum those two subspaces, then this summation would give the complete domain, complete a space, and here sum happens to be, it is sum of two. I'm talking about sum of two sub set, the sum of two set. That sum, if you are defining, you are taking one set is here like this way. One set is row space, that means column space of A transpose, and another actually subspace happens to be a set of vectors, some specific class of vector, and another set we are talking about null space. So both are set, and we are doing summation between two set. We are not doing summation between numbers. So this summation is something different from what we do summation among the scalar or vector. So this summation would be equal to Rn. So if you take two subspace and you sum it up, and that summation is giving complete a space, then that kind of subspace we are calling it complement subspace, and both are what both are here orthogonal to each other, so that's where orthogonal complement word is coming here, sub equal to Rn. Okay, so that's why column space of A transpose and null space of A both happens to be complement to each other. Okay, so that is the story of being orthogonal complement. And one more thing is that if you take any element from X to that source space, that means this representation is saying that you can always write that if you're taking X from the domain space, always you can write in two form. You can decompose into form. One would come from that row part X row. One component would be it is one kind of orthogonal decomposition. Another would be in null space, that we are calling it null X null. So here X row and X null both happens to perpendicular to each other. So that if you go further for dot product, then things are very easy. So that's where this decomposition we are talking orthogonal complement. Meaning of that is orthogonal complement. So here you can observe like this way. In this scenario, orthogonal complement, you can observe directly from where? You can directly observe from the homogeneous system that Ax equal to 0. So if you see that, so in order to, we know that row space happens to be linear combination of rows. So that's why this system you can write it like this way. This one is the row 1, this is row 2, and likewise mth row. There are m rows, and here this vector uh, x vector, that variable equal to 0. Okay, so here we can, from here we can see that if you try to see, we are taking dot product of row with x is what, n dimensional vector. So we are taking dot product. So a matrix, if you try to visualize this system of equation in term of dot product, then you also, then from there you can see that this one row 1 dot x equal to 0. And we know that if you are what is the dimension of row? Dimension of row is n, because it is m by n matrix. So there would be, in single row we will observe n number of components, and this vector x is what, it is coming from source space, and dimension of source space is what, n. So comparable, both row and x both are comparable. So that's why we can do dot product. So if you dot product, you observe dot product of row 1 with x, and that is leading towards first equation, that one is equal to 0. So r1 dot x equal to 0. What does it say? It says that dot product between r1 and x is 0. It says that r is perpendicular to x. r1 is perpendicular to x. Likewise, each row we can say that perpendicular to x. And what is x? X is actually what, solution of this homogeneous system, and x is that means x is where? X is in the null space equal to 0. X is solution of this system, and what solution of space of this system, we are calling it null space. That we are calling it null space. So that means if you take any member from null space, and if you take any member from row space, and if you do dot product, then that would be 0. That means simply it says that row space happens to be orthogonal to each member of null space. So null space of A, not X, null space of A. So that is the picture of being orthogonality. And complement, it says that it covers, if you sum null space with row space, then it will span complete Rn, and that sum happens to be Minkowski sum. Remember that if someone might be interested in Minkowski sum in robotics, you have to be very good in Minkowski sum. That means that the feasibility region in which robot have to move, robot always move in such a way that sum is defined by the region is defined by Minkowski sum. So you need to know that. So that one is part of actually optimization. If time permit, then I will talk about that Minkowski sum in that optimization segment, because I have to construct many things in order to define Minkowski sum. So right now just consider this sum is Minkowski, and later we will discuss in detail. And it is finding a lot of application in robotics, that Minkowski sum. So that thing we will discuss in detail there in model 3. So here we can see that orthogonality picture between row space of A and null space of A. Okay, we can observe that. Similarly, we can see that orthogonality picture between column space of A and null space of A transpose. So similarly, and also what we observe, one more thing I should recall that if you take any vector from Rn, here it would be Rn n dimensional space, then that vector, it can be decomposed as x row and x null. That means x row is coming from row space and x null is coming from null space. So that decomposition. So one kind of this situation, that projection you can observe like this way. So if you are taking a vector, suppose in R, you are in R2. So what you do in R2, and someone is asking to project this vector along some given direction. Suppose direction I am taking it to 1 0. So projection would be like this way. So this one is the projection vector and this one is the perpendicular vector. So this you can say that it is notation like this way: x projection. Projection we denote it by x parallel. We call x, and notation of parallel is 2 vertical bar, x parallel, and this vector is x, and this perpendicular component we are calling it perp, x perp. This is notation of perpendicular x perp. So you can see that x you have denoted it in the projection. Everyone just go and recall from the projection part how we decompose a vector in two parts. One is parallel part or projection part, x parallel or projection, plus x perp, that means perpendicular part. So for every vector you can do like this way. The similar fashion here we have already come across that uh, the row space and null space happens to be orthogonal complement to each other. If one component is here, if suppose one member from this, suppose you are calling it y, then definitely if this y belongs to this row space, then if you take perpendicular component of this one, and that means perpendicular, if you take any vector which is perpendicular to this one, that will belongs to null space. So that means if you do sum like this way, y plus y per, it will give a vector in n dimensional space. It will, so two components. So that is the scenario. So that means one part is here, perpendicular part is here. If you are taking, we know that perpendicular is again aligned with the vector. So that situation also you can see. So if you take one vector from here, then perpendicular of that would be here. So that is the situation. Okay, this is the part 2. Now we will go for part 3. Same thing I have explained here in detail, so I would like to skip whatever I discussed there. Same thing is explained here. So here in short we can say that in the source space, null space of A and row space of A both happens to be orthogonal complement to each other. That means if you find orthogonal complement of this one is null space, and vice versa, orthogonal complement of null space happens to be row space. Similarly, orthogonal complement of left null space would be column space, and orthogonal complement of column space would be left null space. So these two are orthogonal complement to each other, and these two are orthogonal complement to each other. So this is part 2 of fundamental theorem of linear algebra. Okay, so I'm geometry again I had given. I will talk about part third. So part third is more interesting in sense that I told it is all about finding orthogonal basis for four fundamental subspaces. The heart, that is the heart of the problem of this fundamental theorems. So what is happening that we can find an orthogonal basis for this row space. We can find through many approach. Either we can go for it is simply r dimensional vector subspace, so we can find a basis directly because A is given, so we can find corresponding row space. And if we are having a row space, is just what linear combination of rows, and rows are already given, so we can find that subspace. Once we are having that subspace, easily we can identify what are the bases. Now then that job is not done. job is not done. What we have to do, we have to find orthonormal basis. So from that basis, by applying Gram-Schmidt orthogonalization, we can convert into orthonormal basis. There is no issue, we can convert that. But that again, I told that with a higher dimension, the computation is very tedious. So that's why Gram-Schmidt won't work much. What we do, in place of finding that approach, we will go second approach. We will find directly SBD. Can do. Why? I had already mentioned that these are actually what? These are actually eigenvector of A transpose A. So we are having matrix, given matrix A. So in place of that, we will find that A transpose A. We will find from the given matrix, we will construct A transpose A, and after that, this matrix is a very nice matrix. It happens to be a symmetric matrix because A is a m by n matrix. That's way the size of this matrix would be what, n by n. Size of this matrix A transpose A would be n by n matrix. So n by n, that means it is a square matrix. Also you will see that it is a symmetric as well. You can prove the symmetry of this matrix as well easily. It is very easy to prove symmetry of this matrix. So this A transpose is a very nice matrix. It is a square and symmetric, and it is something more than that also. That is something I will talk later. So if due to that, easily we can calculate eigenvector of this matrix, and eigenvector of this matrix, it is having r number of eigenvector. Rest of eigenvector would be we can't only r number of eigenvector it will have. So we can easily calculate r number of eigenvector. Okay, why? Because eigenvalue, we will get only r number of non-zero eigenvalue. Rest of eigenvalue would be 0. Again, there are region. Okay, there are various regions. So that's why we are getting r number of eigenvector for this A transpose A, and that would play the role of orthogonal basis of our row space. That means column space of A transpose. These are, that means you won't face any problem in order to calculate this one. You don't have to apply Gram-Schmidt like that. Just it is process of finding eigenvector of A transpose A. So that task is very simple. You can easily do that. Also in Python, there are several commands. Instantly you will get those eigenvector. Okay, and for which we will observe that it is following a specific rule. If you apply matrix A over any of the eigenvector of A transpose A, then it will give ui sigma I times ui, and ui happens to be what? Ui is again orthonormal vector, and that ui is what? Orthonormal vector, and this ui, all those u1 u2 up to ur, it is forming orthonormal basis for column space. It is here. So that is the relation. So easily what you do, by finding eigenvector of A transpose A, you are getting orthonormal basis for row space. And now just what you do, you apply the matrix over this one. You don't need to do that, because due to that eigenvalue property, you will come to know that just you just apply, then you will get this situation u1. So a1 times, that means simply it say that in short I would like to write it a1 a times vi equal to sigma I. Sigma I is actually singular value of A, and if you take a square of that, then that would be eigenvalue of A transpose A, sigma I times ui. So sigma I is just coming with respect to eigenvalue of A transpose A. That means you are having information about sigma I. So here just multiply a matrix A with a corresponding eigenvector of A transpose A, and you will get what? Sigma I ui, and ui here it would be what? It would form orthonormal basis of column space. So that is the theory. Instantly you are getting orthonormal basis of row space and column space from A transpose A by finding eigenvalue of A transpose A and doing operation of A over corresponding eigenvectors. So that is the simple technique. What you do further, then what are the role of null space? Null space are what? Null space are containing element which has been nullified by the matrix A and corresponding A transpose. So due to that, what is happening? So I had already told that non-pivot columns in A. So here rank is R. Rank will fix here. So here again in A transpose A, first R would contribute to find pivot columns, and those will give these orthogonal basis. Rest n minus R, that will give your these vector. These vector are actually what? These are forming basis of null space of A. Similarly, corresponding, apply again matrix, this matrix over is over this one, you will get what? You will get in the similar fashion. You don't apply the matrix here because nullification will happen here. Nullification will, because it is coming from null space. So don't apply. Similarly, what you do, you find, go to another matrix, A into A transpose, and here find null space of this one. In order, just apply all elementary row operation and everything, and from here you can deduce UR plus 1 up to UM. From here you can deduce. So that means you are getting basis of A, null space of A transpose as well from this matrix. So all these are very easy to calculate. So all these bases happen to be orthogonal basis. So this is the idea, and all these calculations are derived from what we are calling it singular value decomposition. And I think it is already over 45 minutes. So other things we will cover in next class. Regarding attendance, go and mark your attendance there in comment box. Okay, if you are having any question, ask. Otherwise, I'm going to wind